have 7 o'clock, so we welcome everyone here to the Hooper City Council meeting for Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Prior to this meeting, we had a work meeting that started at 6:30, and of course, we've had probably several people that have will be able to tune in and listen, or did tune in and listen to that, or that will be available at a later date to everyone. This time we will have Councilman Hill. If you would provide a reverence for us, we would appreciate that.
Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful to be gathered together as Hooper City Council and staff, and we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet. We're grateful for our great city which we live in, thankful for the nation we live in and the freedoms it provides us. Father, we ask at this time to bless this nation and our community, that the pandemic will lessen, that the trials that have come upon our great community and our nation will subside, and that things will return to a place where we can all gather once again and enjoy one another's company. We ask Thee to bless those who are in harm's way, that as they battle this pandemic, that they will be blessed and watched over and taken care of in any way they can be. We ask Thee, as we talk about our city business tonight, that we can do so in a civil manner and accomplish the things which we need to take care of. We ask a blessing upon our community and our nation and those who lead us and guide us. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, next, as we've stated in other meetings, we begin by stating if there are any conflicts of interest that any members of the council might have with any items on the agenda. So at this time, we'll have anyone disclose any conflict they may have with an item on the agenda.
So I do have a conflict with item number 3, the final approval of Quilt Cove subdivision. It's a development of the company that I work for. It did the engineering and planning on.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Cave. So at this time, we'll just mention as that vote takes place, you'll not be able to vote on that.
Correct.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for May 7th, 2020. If each of you have a draft copy of that and have been able to review it, have you seen anything that needed corrected or amended? If not, we would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Okay, so I just have a question on, obviously it's a new format, and I did not go in and review every one of these timestamps. Do you want us to in the future? What do you, because what do you think the protocol should be? Because like I say, I didn't read every one of them or listen to them. Okay, well, that would be encouraged. Sean, if you want to make a comment there, this is just one way to make, I mean, it has to be that's one thing about this, is what you listen to is exactly what was said. Right? So I think. So I didn't, so. Unless you went and listened to you say something, and right now you're going to say, I never said that. That's kind of a joke, Cindy. Okay, you have to deny that you really said something that's actually has been recorded. So right.
Yeah, it would just be up to you. So the timestamps are just that the audio is now held for permanent retention as the official record or part of the official record for the city in the new format. And then when the new website goes live, then you'd be able to, as I timestamp them, like I don't know if you saw the example I sent in the email. But once I publish those timestamps, you'll be able to directly click on those timestamps in the program, and it will bring you right to that audio. So you're more than welcome to click on the hyperlink that's attached in the minutes and then just scroll over to each one of those timestamps if you want to make sure that it's lining up correctly. Yeah, so yeah, it would just be up to you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments on the minutes? And if not, we will entertain a motion for approval of those.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 7th City Council meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilman Cave to approve the minutes.
Second.
What's
I'll
that?
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a second from Councilman Hill. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay. So the minutes are approved for May 7th, 2020. Next on the agenda, we've invited our Public Works Director, Jared Hancock, to just take a few minutes and maybe review a few of the things that have been going on in the Public Works Department within the city. So Jared, we'll turn some time over to you.
Okay, I've prepared a little report from Public Works just to kind of inform you on what we've been working on and some of our future plans that we plan on working on here shortly. I just kind of laid it out department-wise, but I say that as the department kind of consists of one person generally, so just keep that in mind as we go through these. But our Parks Department, we've obviously the summer season's come. We've serviced all of our equipment and prepared it for the upcoming season. Charging all of the properties that we maintain, water lines and for the sprinkling systems. And then there's always leaks and things to take care of there. And so we've been fairly busy with that. We put a significant amount of work into the cemetery, and I'll explain some of that a little bit later when I get to projects. Sherry has lined up some volunteers to come and help with the flags and the crosses that we put up at the cemetery for Memorial Day. Our streets department, we have cleaned up all of the snow removal equipment and put it away. We have to treat some of the items that rust and that from the salt and get that tucked away and kind of get ready to use that same equipment that we multitask for summer projects. We've cleaned one of the major drains at the bottom of Hooper that kind of takes a lot of the stormwater out to the lake, and it was a pretty significant project to get off the plate, and it was in need. So got out and got that done utilizing our track hoe that we have now.
Where's that at, Jared? Which
so the one that we cleaned is kind of right on the way to the bird refuge on 7500.
Okay.
Then it turns right there on we call it the S curve, and just goes straight west all the way to the bird refuge. We got that done. We've had several irrigation related backups in the storm drain that are just typical of when the water comes on. Things in ditches and pipelines that have to be cleaned out that we've been working to repair and have a couple left to fix. We on 7100 there was a citizen that got a permit to pipe some ditch, and when they got to the uphill manhole, one of the old pipelines that we inherited from the county was actually uphill the wrong way, and so our guys went in and redid the manhole and relayed back to the next manhole to get that flowing properly. And so that we was able to get that taken care of and that water draining the way it should. Bryce, that works mainly in our roads department's been working on some of the roadside mowing, and that will be a continuous effort through the summer as the grass and weeds grow alongside of the roads. And we've been, like I say, there's only really one guy kind of assigned to each department. So we have to pull the people off the other departments to help when we have a project. But in the next week or so, we plan on doing a citywide pothole repair. There's quite a few potholes out there that need repair, and we're going to go ahead and get those taken care of in the next week or so. Our sewer system, it's starting to show its age a little bit. We haven't really had any vacuum mainline breaks or leaks to speak of, a few here and there, but we've had 2 lately that we've repaired, and one other one in the town zone that actually took us a few days to locate where the vacuum leak was, but we have found it and have it getting blue stick to fix first of the week. And then just regular maintenance is quite, takes quite a bit of time on that system as well. And so we've been keeping up on that. Some of the projects going on in the city, last time we talked, I don't remember if the rapid flasher beacons on 5900 were complete or not, but they are now, and I see people using them, and
They're really nice.
yeah, I think they're doing what we intended and making it safer for people using the trails. 4700 project, that went into winter, and UDOT typically shuts things down during the winter months, and then getting our contractor back to finish that project. We just have some odds and ends and some things to wrap up with residents. It's substantially complete, but we're hoping to get all the loose ends buttoned up and kind of get that contract put behind us and get that completed here shortly. They are working on it currently, and I know the mayor and Tracy and I are working on some of the loose ends and the contractual stuff and get that taken care of. The 4600 South project just up the road from the office, we were able to complete that work. We ended up extending some of the storm drain work because where we initially thought we would end, the pipe had failed there, and so we continued to go east until we got to a point where it would function. And there's probably still a little bit of work to do there that we'd like to do in the near future to make that operated 100%. But as far as the contract and getting the residents buttoned up there on 46, we've got that completed. The cemetery project, we've been kind of excited for a long time to get that final phase done, and it's been a bit of a challenge. We put that out for public bid, went with the low bidder. You guys awarded that contract, and they started in March, and we just had some real performance issues with that contractor, and we finally got to the point that we had to terminate that contract and move to the second low bidder contractor to complete that work. Unfortunately, the time it took to be able to contractually get to that point of termination used up most of the time we had to get that project done before Memorial Day. And we were fortunate to have the second low bid contractor, somebody that I know well, and they've done a lot of work for us. And they said, if you guys are willing to help us, I think we can still pull this off for Memorial Day. And so we went down with our crews and some of our equipment and helped them. And we just really had a major task to accomplish every day. And we pretty much completed that project in about 9 days. And that includes relaying all the storm drain, the irrigation line, curb and gutter, sidewalk, asphalt. The only thing we hesitated putting down the sod. They were willing to get it laid today, but we were worried with all the foot traffic and having to keep it wet that it'd just be a mess. So long story short, the project didn't go as good as we'd hoped, but the latter part of it, I think, went really well, and we were fortunate to be able to get it pretty much wrapped up for Memorial Day. I think it looks pretty good. We just paved it this morning, and the landscape crew was there preparing the dirt and getting it leveled out. So I think it's about as good as we can do with the circumstances we had. As far as development, the Second Estates, that's just a small one down the Orrock family's doing, and they've run into some snags with where their storm drain line is right where the power line is as well, and they've been waiting for the power company to get that moved. And so you may have heard from some residents that road has been open a long time as far as asphalt cuts, and I've been working with the contractor as soon as we can to get that patch back up. Country View, the one over behind Hooper Water, they've made some significant progress there. Mike and I and everybody involved's done a lot of work to get them to this point, but they do have building permits and are working there now to get that one rolling. Turner Legacy is a fairly small one up off 4300, and they are pretty much substantial completion of their infrastructure work. They paved the other day, and we tested their lab results, came back from the asphalt lab, and everything was within acceptable parameters for acceptance. And Quail Estate, they've also placed their asphalt, and that lab work's come back that their asphalt's compliant with our standards as well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jared. Are there any members of the council that may have a question for Jared? Or
Hey, Jared, just a question maybe for future reference on the cemetery project. I mean, I know we've always taken bids, and then the council sees the bids, and then it seems like we've always taken the low bid. But how do we avoid that in the future? You know, obviously we rely on your expertise to tell us whether the contractors are good or not, but it seems like we should put something in place to avoid using shoddy work in the future.
Yeah.
What do you think?
There are a couple of cities, I've talked with Tracy about that, and there are some cities, probably about half of the ones that they deal with, I think, that do a value-based contract award. So rather than basing 100% of the award on price, it's like 75% of it is on price, and then there's some other parameters of past performance, performance with other entities, you know, different ways you can evaluate to maybe not go with low bidder all the time. One thing I would like to put into that equation, even if we tracked it with our projects, and Reed would probably have to approve this, and that sometimes we get low bidder, but then we get so many change orders that by the time we're done paying them, they've exceeded the second bidder, and we don't know if there would have been change orders there, or if, you know, maybe they weren't low bidder after they get all the change orders. So I would like to see that be part of the equation in the future, that if they do the work that we described for what they said they would, versus you know, and so some change orders are legitimate. If we didn't see it or foresee it and they have to do some significant work, they deserve to be paid for that. So I don't want to sound like change orders are never appropriate, but just when contractors are looking for a reason to charge the city more money when we feel like it was described in the contract. So
would it be appropriate to get like recommendations from other cities they've worked for? Is that appropriate? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I get calls all the time for people looking for references that have listed that they've worked in Hooper.
Because if somebody had a bad experience, it would be nice to know that maybe low bid's not the best way to go.
Right. Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. I would like to see us get to a value base, so we're getting the best.
Smart to me.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with that, Jared. Let's just take a look at the bidding process and incorporate that as part of it.
Okay. Tracy has some good ideas and some other cities templates that we can look at as well to kind of formulate that. And get it to you for approval.
Okay, good idea.
Hey, Jared,
Uh-huh.
I had a question that came up the other day. What type, if any, do we do any mosquito control at our parks?
We don't currently. The mosquito abatement goes to, I know they go around at least Hooper Park. I see them out there quite often, and I believe we can request them. I know residents can call and request them to go by their residence or whatever, and they'll spray around them. But we don't ourselves do that.
When I was at the meeting last week, this month anyway, they mentioned that they do focus on calls. So if they get calls from residents or a municipality and they have a specific place, and they also have a drone now that they can target areas that they couldn't even get to before. So they've made some really good progress.
Very nice, very nice.
Hey, Jared, I've got one more question. 4700 West. Has there been any discussion at all about perhaps increasing the speed limit to 30? I mean, a lot of our residential streets are a lot narrower than 4700 West, and they're already 30 miles an hour, and we've got almost a freeway going on 4700 West, and 25 just seems really slow for that road. What's the discussion about that? Anything at all?
I haven't had too much conversation. I know Tracy's looked at some different, complaints in the past about, and if you do the traffic study that we're supposed to do, it typically goes the opposite way that the people are asking for. So, but I can have him take a look at that if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we at least figure out, what the process is if we do want to increase it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it might make sense too. I think West Haven has a project approved to continue the improvements all the way to 4,000. So when that happens, that will be a pretty major thoroughfare through there.
I think the only other street in Hooper that's 25 is 4825 South, if I remember right. But everything else is either 30 or thereabouts. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But just seems really, really slow when there's always sheriffs handing out tickets left and right. I mean, that's great. We've got enforcement. I almost think we're punishing people a little bit for going just a tad too slow, maybe. I don't know. That's just my thought.
I agree with you, Ryan.
We could possibly take the traffic trailer up there too and just see what we're seeing up there as far as speeds, because Chris can probably tell you that a lot of I didn't really realize until working here, the speed limits typically are set by what people feel comfortable driving. They have a term for it, the 80th percentile of traffic. What people drive and how comfortable they feel driving there. But we can look at it.
Use the trailer and get some data. Maybe that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, let's do that, and then I'll talk with Tracy and we'll get back with you, and I'll make a note here.
Okay, thanks, Jared.
You bet. Thank you.
I wonder what the speed limit is going going north into West Haven. Did they increase it?
I don't think so. I think over there they have that little kind of an S curve.
Area where it's tight.
Yeah.
In the residence.
Yeah, I think that's what it is over there.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Jared.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate all that information.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
Okay, at this time on the agenda, we have a time when we could, if we've had any citizen comments that have come in. Shauna, have we had any to this point that for the council?
No, I have not had any comments mailed in beforehand for public comment on this agenda.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, at this time on the agenda, we have a time when we could, if we've had any citizen comments that have come in. Shauna, have we had any to this point that for the council? No, I have not had any comments mailed in beforehand for public comment on this agenda. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so our next item of city business is final approval of the Quail Cove subdivision, which consists of 9 lots on 3750 South and 5250 West. This is on about 5.7 acres. And so, Mike, would you give the presentation for us on this subdivision?
I will. So this is the final approval for the Quail Cove subdivision. It's 9 lots on 5.7 acres in the R2 zone. The R2 zone is a residential minimum 20,000 square foot lot zone. It's located in approximately 5250 west, 3750 south. The red shaded area is the Quail Cove subdivision. You can see the blue shaded area is the previously approved Quail Estate subdivision. And further north is the now completed Quail Meadows subdivision. This is the proposed plat showing the layout of the lots. All of the lots meet the minimum standards as far as frontage and lot size for our R2 zone. The Planning Commission, when they approved this or recommended approval, had 2 conditions. One was there was a property line question on the east property line of this subdivision. They have since gone out and met with the property owners and resolved that. They provided us with a letter confirming that. The other condition was that the developers of the Quail Cove subdivision work with the developers of the Silver Saddle subdivision, which is to the west. Quail Cove subdivision is responsible for putting in a land use separation fence, and the Silver Saddle subdivision is responsible for piping a ditch that is at least partially underneath the fence location. So they've provided us a letter just indicating they will work together, and timing and understanding that building permits cannot be issued until that separation fence is installed. Key issues from the Public Works and Engineering memo, all of the issues, I should say, have been addressed. Final approval letters have been provided by Taylor West Weaver Water District, Hooper Irrigation Company, and all other required approval letters were provided during the preliminary plat phase. Like I said, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval. The city staff is also recommending final approval for the Quail Cove subdivision. And that is it.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike. Okay, council, do you have any discussion on this? Or if not, we would entertain a motion. And in that motion, ought to probably include those 2 conditions that have been satisfied with letters.
So Mike, those 2 letters satisfied 2 of the questions I had. I had one more question. Sheet 6 of 9, number 1, talks about a additional catch basin requested by our Public Works Director. Is that part of that letter also?
That was a part of the latest revised plan. So they did address that with the latest review from Jared and Tracy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, at this point then we'll entertain a motion.
I can make a motion to approve the final plot approval for Quail Cove, located approximately 3750 South, 5250 West, with the conditions stated by both developers of the Silver Saddle subdivision and Quail Cove to take care of both of those letters as they stated they would do.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Paulson. Do we have any other discussion? We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second from Councilman Hill. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, are there any opposed? Okay, that final approval passes. Okay, at this time, we'll just ask again if there's been any citizens' comments that have been sent in during the course of our meeting or anything like that, Shauna?
As of now, I don't have any new or updated public comment for this meeting.
Okay. All right, well, with that, we'll entertain motion for adjournment since we've covered everything on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to seeing you in person.
Person, there you go.
Take care.
Thank you, Reed, for being with us. Mike.